Like I said, back in the parking lot, we're here for another video. Let's get started. So this video is sort of related to my last video with just feeling like everything is a bit too much all at once. And that happens a lot with sensory processing sensitivity. So I felt like this was a good time to kind of address that as well. By the way, I'm sorry if I sound sick. I am just a little bit sick. So if I sound like a horse, that's why. So one of the parts of having sensory processing sensitivity is that often we experience what's called sensory overload, which is where everything is happening all at once. You feel everything and it's just all so much. So for me, there are a few different versions of sensory overload. One is when you're feeling so many emotions from everyone else in a really populated area that you just kind of like can't do anything. Like you can't talk, you can't hear, you can't see like really well. It's just like you just kind of like become a mannequin, and it's all like so overwhelming that if someone talks to you, you're either going to do one of two things. One, you're going to burst into tears, or two, you're going to pass out. The second kind is kind of like when every little thing just kind of annoys you, like you already are trying to process so much, and then you like drop your sunglasses and it's just like infuriating because it's just so much. Another version is what I like to call my mini manic moments, where all of a sudden I become like the Tasmanian devil because I have so much to think about all at once that I'm walking, but I'm literally like sprinting around my house trying to take care of things. And the last version basically feels like a panic attack where you have so much to think about that you just like sit down and start hyperventilating, and your brain is moving so fast that you can't speak. And that's pretty much what sensory overload feels like. And this happens to me a lot. I remember a very specific example. I went to a really big NFL football game really late last year, and walking around the stadium was like the worst because there were so many people, so many like sensory things to intake and process, along with like the energy of everyone there, that I became a mannequin and I just like shut down. And I told my mom, like, I need to sit down in our seats as soon as humanly possible so I can remember what it's like to actually function like a normal person again. And it's often why I find myself like not being able to sit in like really, really emotional kind of rooms. Like if there's a really emotional church service going on, I won't be able to sit in it because the feelings will be so overwhelming that I'll just once again become a mannequin. And a lot of the times what causes me to feel this way is stress. If I have too much to think about at once, that's when I have my mini manic moments or I have my panic attacks, and it gets really, really tiring. You know, this actually happens a lot to people who have anxiety or autism spectrum disorders or other like sensory disorders, along with sensory processing sensitivity, because there is so much stimulus that it's really, really hard to function properly when there's so much to intake all at once. So the time has come for me to talk about what you can do about sensory overload. And unfortunately, there isn't much you can do because there is so much stimulus just in our environment alone that can set off someone who has this sensory processing sensitivity. But the good thing is there is something you can do about it. So one of the things you can do is to take some time away, like remove yourself from the situation, go outside, like just remove yourself from the environment that's causing you so much stress, and do something that makes you feel calm. Like become a vegetable, essentially. Like if you have to go and play games on your phone, go play games on your phone. If you have to listen to music, listen to music. Like whatever it takes to give your brain the time to only focus on one thing at a time, that's what you gotta do. One of the things that we call it in the mental health profession is mindfulness. And one of the things that I was taught is to chew like a mint piece of gum when you start feeling like everything is becoming too much, and just focus on the taste, the texture, focus on the chewing of the gum until you can get your brain to essentially just shut off for a bit so you can think. You know, to end on a slightly happy note, because, you know, I've been in a really good mood recently, which is kind of a shock for me, is that you're really not alone if you go through all the things like this. I mean, clearly I'm talking about it, which means I go through it, and I know there are a lot of other people who go through a lot of the same stuff as well. So when everything starts to feel like too much, take a time to be mindful of yourself and what you're experiencing, and know that you have a support group behind you and that there are people in the world that understand. And that is all for this week's video. Thank you so much for watching. Links in the description as usual, as well as a song recommendation. It's a song that really helps me tune down and get my mind back to where it needs to be and calms me down. So I hope it can do the same for you. Yeah, I will see you next week. Bye. There's a truck that keeps going by and it's frustrating the living crap out of me. Can you take your dang cart somewhere else? I'm trying to film.